Minnesota, USA. Yes, this is our town, a friendly and prosperous community. And right now, last-minute preparations are underway for the Summer Roundup and Festival. The Boy Scouts are adding the finishing touches, and the whole town is in a holiday mood. Soon, the big parade will start the festival off. There will be floats, clowns, our own queen, and in general, fun for everybody. Not only the children, but all the people of Cambridge are here to watch the color and splendor that only a parade like this can bring. And here it comes. The big day is started. The history of this famous celebration is almost as colorful as the actual festival itself. The Cambridge Businessmen's Association first formulated the idea. They decided that their customers deserved an annual treat at their expense. Mr. Clarence Friedland was the main enthusiast for starting such an event, and when the plans were just being formulated, he was named General Chairman, and has since then acted in that capacity and made further plans with the Isanti County Fair Board to use the grounds free for the event. The first festival was held back in 1940 and proved to be an overwhelming success. It was suspended during World War II, but after the war was over, it was once again resumed. A mammoth celebration such as this, with the beautiful floats, the bands, the Queen contestants, plus all the other attractions, takes long months of planning and preparation. It's really a tremendous job to coordinate all the factors involved, and various committees have been especially set up to handle each different phase of the festival. The Businessmen's Association is proud of the fact that they have set up their committee's work so efficiently that everything comes off like clockwork the days of the big event. Mr. Paul Dahlgren has been parade chairman since its beginning over 10 years ago, and to him goes a special word of praise. In 1950, our Roundup and Summer Festival had its first queen, and the crowning of a Miss Cambridge has become an annual event each year. Miss Sharon Peterson reigned as our beautiful queen last year. The parade continues with more beautiful floats. Groups from all over Minnesota come to take part in the festival parade, and you can watch everything from real Indians to riding clubs. For the kids especially, the Summer Festival and Spring Roundup is a special treat. It's like having a circus in town with the animals and, of course, the clowns. And the kids really love it. The big celebration actually begins on Friday afternoon with a tea at the country club honoring all the Queen candidates. And then Friday evening, there's a stage show in front of the grandstand at the fairgrounds with the best in entertainment and drawings for $2,000 worth of prizes. The celebration carries over to Saturday morning with this big parade. And then in the afternoon, a free lunch is served at the fairgrounds. Saturday night, there will be another parade, and then a stage show and the crowning of Miss Cambridge of 1953 in front of the grandstand. In other words, it's really a jam-packed 2 days of fun and excitement that brings into our town people from all over the state. In this morning's parade, there are over 20 musical organizations taking part. Among them are some of the leading band and drum corps in the state. Some of these gigantic and beautiful floats will go on to the Aquatennial Parade after this celebration. Many of them have won first place in their division each year at Minneapolis and St. Paul. And the clowns, well, they play a big part in our parade each year with their funny costumes and faces. But you can't say that one special group really makes the parade successful. It's a combination of everyone. The bands, the floats, the high-stepping majorettes, the beautiful girls, the saddle clubs, the marching groups. Yes, everyone and everybody plays an important part in the festival. It's fun for all, and all for fun. progress of this annual summer festival and roundup is typical of the progress our town of Cambridge has seen ever since its founding. In the 1600s, this area was the home of the Sioux Indians, known then as the Isanyati or Isantes, and it was Daniel Stanchfield, a lumber cruiser, who gave the first real impetus to the settlement of this section. He started a lumber camp down by the historic Old Rum River, and he brought with him lumbermen from his own native state of Maine, plus others from various eastern states. Many of these men decided to remain here and to make this section their permanent home. And it was these New Englanders who named most of our towns and townships after the places they left behind, such names as Athens, Oxford, Stanford, and of course, Cambridge. On October 22nd, 1856, the first mention of Cambridge village was recorded. It was during these years that many crop failures occurred in Sweden, and this fact, combined with their real desire for religious freedom, brought them to this country. They came and settled here in this area because of the resemblance to their home country. It was these people who brought the religious and law-abiding atmosphere which has always prevailed down through the years. And now strike up the band. The big festival parade marches on with more of the outstanding bands that have come to our town for the big celebration. In addition to the fine music they provide, most of them are also experts in marching and drill formations. It all adds up to some terrific entertainment for the citizens who have lined the streets to watch the spectacle. And after the band comes more of the floats. Most of these are representing business groups. Many long hours of work, planning, and careful preparation goes into a two-day celebration like this, that's for sure, but just as much time is spent in creating, designing, and constructing the big floats that have appeared here. These floats are sponsored by various companies and groups in our town and state, and they most certainly add immeasurably to the overall effect of beauty and pageantry of the festival. If there were no other events but this one big parade, it certainly would be worth a trip to our town. But now the parade is almost over, and everyone starts to make their way out to the fairgrounds for the start of the afternoon's activities. From all over town, they pour into the Isante grounds, all set for a continuation of the day's festivities. And one of the main objects of attention is getting something to eat. Free lunches are served to all, and of course, hot dogs are the popular favorite. After watching the parade all morning, the people of our town are content to stand in line, just as long as they get something to eat, and you can be sure they will. In fact, they can get all they want. Seconds are strictly the order of the day. It's really a field day for the kids, a big parade in the morning, and now free food. Children have always been the chief patrons of the carnival, which has been set up for this occasion, but they were not the originators. Grown-ups really started the idea several hundred years ago by meeting together on a specific day, talking over current problems, and exchanging their goods. It's grown from that early beginning into the modern carnival that we see today. A carnival that's packed full of exciting rides and interesting exhibitions. It's just another added feature that makes our summer festival and roundup one of the finest celebrations anywhere. Not only at the fairgrounds is activity taking place, but as well all over our town. Various parties are in full swing in commemoration of the gala occasion. The sun is warm and bright, and so the guests decide to move outside at the porch. After lunch, it's back to the carnival on the fairgrounds and some deep concentration by the bingo players. It's really not as serious as it looks. The people have lots of fun, and if you can come up with a winning card, there's a chance to win some really nice prizes. The numbers are called out, and still there's no winner. But there will be one, and you can bet, win or lose, the folks are having a wonderful time just playing. But there are a lot of other things to see, as well as the bingo game, All over the grounds, fun can be found. Some of the people are still eating as they see the sights. Others are taking advantage of the many booths along the way. Still others are out just to see the sights and take the kids for a ride or two. There are many interesting exhibitions to see, and for a glass-cutting exhibition, the crowd really stops and takes an interest. While the carnival is progressing at the fairgrounds, there's a vital part of the celebration coming up at the country club, that being the selection of Miss Cambridge. This tea is held in honor of all the candidates, with the judging to follow. The atmosphere is in keeping with the entire celebration, friendly and informal. Before the judging gets underway, friends talk about the big morning parade. Last year's queen, Sharon Peterson, talks with Mrs. Miles, whose husband is editor of the Cambridge Star. The newspaper sponsored her in the contest last year, and they're very good friends. Mr. Miles joins them, and they move inside, where the judging is ready to begin. Robert Huper of the Cambridge Laundry and chairman of the Queen Committee escorts the first candidate, Jean Kirkbold, to the judges for interviewing. After the first candidate, the group discusses with each other their opinions. A regular system of scoring is set up, with judging on personality, voice, personal appearance, interests, and other factors. Nothing is overlooked in order to make the judging as fair as possible. Emily Ristow is the featured organist at the tea. She's been playing here for many years. Paul Mills of the Star gets a picture of all the lovely candidates for his paper. This year's candidates are Jean Kirkbold, Marilyn Stone, Audrey Jacques, Joyce Kirkbold, Betty Olson, Shirley Upsall, Eileen Engmark, Suzanne Ellingson, Susan Sabine, and Eunice Johnson. It's really a tough job to pick just one out of all these beautiful girls as queen. Some of the men around the club don't seem to be as concerned with the beautiful girls inside as they are with their golf game outside. Dr. McRae from Princeton gets set to tee off on the club's fine course. The club, a community project, has 230 members. Playing with Dr. McRae is Mr. Alec Kapsner. The new club boasts one of the finest courses in this area. Since the start of the club 5 years ago, golf has become an increasingly popular sport here. Back inside the country club, after each of the 10 girls has been interviewed thoroughly by the judges, the modeling part of the contest begins. As stated before, each one of these girls is sponsored by some local business firm, and the sponsoring firms this year are Anderson Drugs, The Photo Shop, People's State Bank, Lewis Department Store, Cambridge State Bank, Carlson Drugs, Cambridge Launderers and Dry Cleaners, Ellingson Hardware, the Cambridge Fire Department, and the Cambridge State School and Hospital. The new Miss Cambridge will not be announced until tonight from the platform in front of the grandstand. All the Queen candidates will ride in another parade tonight, and also will be honored guests at a dinner late this afternoon at the Arlington Hotel. All in all, it's an exciting and thrilling day for all the girls, because just being nominated is a real honor in itself. And now the big night has finally arrived. Miss Sharon Peterson is introduced to the crowd. She, of course, was Miss Cambridge of 1952, and this evening she will give up her shining crown to the new winner. Bob Huper is the master of ceremonies for this event. And also here tonight is the Winter Carnival Princess from St. Paul, Marlis Walbridge. She's come to our town to help celebrate the Summer Roundup Festival. Here this evening, to remind the folks of the Aquatennial in Minneapolis, is Queen Joanne Melberg. The queens really seem to be in abundance tonight. But now the time has just about arrived for the coronation of the new Cambridge Queen. Each one of the final new contestants arrives on the platform in front of the big crowd at the fairgrounds. You can bet that these girls are all pretty excited, too, and the candidates for Miss Cambridge are anxiously awaiting the announcement of who has been chosen, and finally it comes. The winner this year is lovely Jean Kirkvold. She doesn't hardly believe it, but it's true, and she's crowned Miss Cambridge of 1953. She will reign as queen over all the big events in our town until next year. She's certainly a happy and thrilled girl tonight, as well she has the right to be. Miss Cambridge of 1953, the beautiful Jean Kirkvold. And the crowd here wholeheartedly agrees with the judge's decision. After the ceremony, she is escorted from the platform by Mr. Huper. After the presentation of Miss Cambridge, the crowd settles back and enjoys some really fine entertainment by Pat McCaffrey. He's doing a takeoff on Ozark Joe. Besides being a terrific comedian, in addition, he's an outstanding musician. Later on, there's also a magic act by Jack Pyle from Indiana. All in all, it adds up to a full evening of fine entertainment for all the people at the show. And it brings to a close another celebration of the Summer Roundup and Festival. One of the busiest places in our town any day is Friedland Motors. Owned and operated by Harold and Clarence Friedland, this business is typical of the growth that has come to our town commercially. The Friedland boys started their business way back in March of 1925, selling Chrysler and Plymouth cars in a small building up the street from where they are now. Then, as the town grew, so did they. They expanded from their small shop and in 1930 moved to their present place of business. In the same year, Friedland Motors also added a body shop. Through the years, their reputation has grown. It has grown from the expert and careful service they always provide. Crane mechanics go over your car and put it in top-notch running order, using only the best of equipment. Every phase of automotive engineering takes place here, including wheel alignment, lubrication, and tire service. One of the top services Friedland's offers is their towing service. Not only in Cambridge, but also in the surrounding area, 24-hour towing service is available. This is just another example of the complete service that Friedland Motors offers to the people of our town. Friedland Motors is served by the Cluck Oil Company, as are many of the dealers in and around Cambridge. Cluck's big trucks are a familiar sight around our town, and well they might be, for this old and established business has been in operation since May 15th, 1926. William Cluck originally founded the business as a service station. He operated a station for 2 years, and in May of 1928 he started a bulk storage plant. Then he had only 2 tanks and 1 truck with which to make country deliveries in connection with his service station. Since those early years, the Cluck Oil Company has maintained a high reputation among its customers. Where in 1928 only 72,000 gallons were sold, in 1952 over 150 gallons were passed through the Cluck Oil Company, a real tribute to their successful business. This modern front marks the entrance to the Cambridge State Bank. The bank plays a prominent role in the life of our town. It offers complete facilities for any type of banking procedure, including savings, checking, and a complete insurance service. Annabelle Barleen, one of the tellers and bookkeepers, opens the night and day deposits. This affords protection to those who do not have safes or wish to deposit their funds overnight. Mary Anderson has Annabelle count and tabulate the money for the day to acquire the correct balance. The Cambridge State Bank has a capital and surplus of $225,000. Paul Dahlgren is a familiar face in the bank, too, as he serves in the role of cashier. Born and raised in Cambridge, he is typical of the friendly, courteous people who work here. Mr. Erickson, president of the Cambridge State Bank for the past 25 years, consults with his son George on a special loan problem. George is now an assistant cashier. And another officer of the Cambridge Bank is Mr. Warren V. Erickson, who is also an assistant cashier. Our post office is located in the center of town. Many people, such as Mrs. Ebba Hedenstrom, pick up their mail here because they are very often downtown, even though ours is a first-class post office. The activities of our town's post office are carried on quietly and efficiently without any fanfare, but you can be sure that most of us forget the important duties of the post office and just take them for granted. A paper that we're all mighty proud of is the Cambridge Star, our town's own paper. Published every Thursday, it gives the people of Cambridge news that we all are interested in. News about our town, its work, its organizations, its events, and many other facts that we do not otherwise hear about. And it's been doing this for a good many years now. Speaking of age, our town's newspaper, the Cambridge Star, is one of the oldest newspapers in this area. While the Northern Star was founded in 1905, it was actually consolidated in the year 1919 with the Independent Press, which was a result of the consolidation of the Cambridge Independent and the Isanti County Press. The Isanti County Press was founded in 1874. And all through these years, our town's newspaper has brought the people of this area the news, both good and bad. It's been this sort of news, reported simply and honestly, that has made our newspaper so successful. On the outskirts of our town is beautiful Spectacle Lake. It's here that the children of our town come to swim and play in the sunshine and out of doors. Most of the older folks just like to sit and watch, but the kids don't hold back a bit. The water's fine and they love it. They can either splash around near the shore or go out for a swim to the raft and try the diving board. It keeps the children of Cambridge off the streets and lets them work off all the energy that comes with youth in normal and healthy exercise. In addition to the swimming, many types of inboard and outboard boats are often seen on the lake. As far as recreation goes, there are many places that the whole family can go to have an old-fashioned picnic on Sunday afternoon. Picnicking is especially popular here in Cambridge from spring to late fall. Families and friends gather together at the various spots around our town and enjoy an afternoon underneath the sun. But recreational activities are not stopped at just swimming and picnicking. There are also excellent facilities for fishing. Minnesota, of course, is known as the land of 10,000 lakes, and the folks of our town take good advantage of this fact. Everyone from junior to grandpa, and including a good share of the women too, all love to fish. The lakes are well stocked and are truly a fisherman's dream. It really doesn't matter what size fish you catch, just as long as you try and have some fun in doing it. Actually, a lot of the folks in our town get just as much pleasure by coming out to watch the kids play. It's a good feeling to know that the leaders of tomorrow are growing up in such a normal, happy atmosphere. The Isanti County Courthouse is one of the landmarks that the people of Cambridge have grown familiar to seeing. This colorful old building has looked over the affairs of our town since its erection in 1886. Many of the events that have shaped the life of Cambridge have taken place in this red brick building. It's the meeting place of both the City Council and the Businessmen's Association. This building houses our town's efficient and competent phone company. Many national groups, such as the Masons, are represented here. One of the biggest and most productive industries in our town is the Cambridge Woolen Mill. Its long history dates back many, many years ago. This old spinning wheel, the forerunner of the modern industry that stands here today, was made by Eric Bjorklund, the founder of the Cambridge Mill. It was in 1888 when Bjorklund first thought of entering the wool carding business. Upon first entering the big mill, the fleece is first weighed and carefully inspected. From here it is sent to be thoroughly dusted and washed in only the first steps of a method that will, in the end, produce wool products of the highest quality. This high quality has maintained down through the years, even from the mill's humble beginning. As stated before, Eric Bjorklund, a young Swedish immigrant who had been employed as a pattern maker in Minneapolis, decided to enter the wool carding business in 1888. At that time, the pioneer women did their own wool carding by hand in order to prepare the wool for spinning and the loom. Since hand carding was the most difficult and tedious part of home manufacture of wool yarn, Bjorklund decided to start his mill with a carding machine. The original Cambridge Wooling Mill was started on Mud Lake Creek with an old water wheel supplying the needed power. However, this first mill burned down after operating only a short time, and it was then that Bjorklund moved the mill to its present location. Again, production was started on wool carding. Soon a spinning machine was added, then later a fulling mill for scouring and fulling home-woven cloth. As the demand for products increased, still more machines were added. Spooling and twisting machines to make knitting yarn. In 1928, machinery was purchased for the reposing of woolen materials, and later in 1932, carding machinery was installed for the making of wool batting. The prosperous business had outgrown its second building by this time, and in 1937, a new brick and tile building was erected, and most of the manufacturing moved there. In 1939, heavy hosiery knitting equipment was purchased, which later produced more than 1 million pairs of heavy wool socks for the armed forces in World War II. But production continued to grow even after the war, and in just 1951, garnetting equipment was installed to manufacture interlining materials for quilted linings for garments. In addition to the big modern plant, the mill also operates its own retail store where it sells its own seconds and odd lots, as well as remnants and seconds of blankets to other mills. Thus has been the story of one of our most prosperous and successful industries, the Cambridge Woolen Mill. Yes, this is our town. You've seen our summer roundup and festival, our businesses, our industry, and our people. And it is these people who make the real heart of our warm and friendly community. But you've seen only a part of our town, only a segment of the many citizens who make up the business, educational, and spiritual life of our town. We invite you to tune in again for part 2 of Cambridge, Minnesota. This is our town. Our town, Cambridge, Minnesota, USA. Yes, this is our town with its tree-lined streets and stately homes with spacious lawns. We're located about 40 miles due north of Minneapolis on Highway 65. Our town is an industrious town, and we're proud of it. We encourage and appreciate free enterprise. For instance, there's the Cambridge Launderers and Cleaners. Established in 1923 by Mr. and Mrs. Stroberg, the Cambridge Launderers has been serving the town for 30 years. Mr. and Mrs. Stroberg started operations alone, but it wasn't long before they hired 2 more people. The plant grew rapidly, and by the end of the first year, they increased their personnel and branched out into dry cleaning as well as laundry. Clothes for laundering are sorted and classified before they're washed. The sorters are well trained, and they also look for stains that should be removed before washing. All laundry is handled by modern methods, and the utmost care is given to see that materials are not subjected to unnecessary harshness. Sheets pass over 4 steam chests with 4 padded rolls pressing down on them. They are then fed under the machine and out again on an apron which allows just the right drying time. If the double hems are not completely dry, the sheets are sent back to be fed through again. They are then expertly folded, ready for the packager to bundle for delivery. Pressing shirts is a real science at the Cambridge Launderers. First the sleeves, then the collars and cuffs. Each operation is timed so that the shirts are in the presses only as long as is necessary for that well-groomed look that's found only in commercially laundered shirts. Sleeves, collars, and cuffs, yoke, bosom, and the body of the shirt. It's as easy as that. 3 excellent operators keep the efficiency high in this department, and it's part of their job to watch for missing and broken buttons and minor tears which are repaired promptly. And here's your shirt, spotless and ready to go. In the dry cleaning section of the plant, we find a spotter hard at work. These people must know what chemical or agent will remove the spot without damaging the material. Form finishing has made a terrific improvement in quality dry cleaning. The steam comes through the garment from the underside, and this raises the nap and allows air to circulate throughout the material. With form finishing, there can be no shine, button, pocket, or seam impressions to mar the line of the gentleman's suit or my lady's dress. All clothes are thoroughly inspected before they're delivered. For the convenience of customers in Cambridge and the surrounding area, a fleet of trucks is maintained for twice-weekly deliveries. The Strobergs have, in 30 years, built up a business which Cambridge is proud to support. They've always worked to keep their methods and operations as up-to-date as possible. They, too, are a licensed Sanitone cleaners. And so, from the plant they started in a combined blacksmith shop and garage, has grown the modern shop of the Cambridge Launderers and Cleaners. Personnel now numbers 50, and the 5 trucks cover better than 100 towns in their bi-weekly deliveries. And to fill the needs of businesses like the Strobergs, we have the People's State Bank. John Gunderson is the president of the bank, and his son Elgin is following in his footsteps. The People's State Bank was founded in 1916 in Spring Lake. In 1934, it was moved to Cambridge. Since John Gunderson was appointed executive officer in 1940, the assets have been increased by almost $3 million, and the capital stock has doubled. Reuben Peterson is busy at the teller's window. After service in World War II and graduation from college, he joined the bank staff. Posting machines have increased the efficiency of the bank. The girls can now do several days' work in just a few hours. Deposits have increased 7.5 times since 1940. It would be impossible to handle the volume without these machines. Betty Peterson operates the Todd imprinter. This machine prints blank checks and is one of the services offered the bank customer. The Todd imprinter prints either the conventional stub-type checks or the more modern personalized type. Checks are mailed to depositors or they may be picked up at the teller's window. The Cambridge Feed and Mill Company is another old-timer in Cambridge. The mill was started way back in 1865. At that time, it was known as the Cambridge Milling Company, and it served the community as a custom flour mill. The present owner, H.C. Rath, purchased the mill in 1936. Mr. Rath modernized the mill to better fill the needs of the community. Many farmers bring their grain in to be ground. Mr. Rath was born and raised on a farm and has made agriculture his life study. He realizes that there are many problems to confront the farmer, and he tries to help out with suggestions. He's encouraged farmers to grow certified seed, and the resulting yields keep this Fersberg seed cleaner going at top speed. The machine is checked closely to ensure proper separation of the seed. The use of certified seed has resulted in a production of well over 100,000 bushels annually. The mill also operates a grain elevator and buys grain all year round. In 1936, grain was shipped into Cambridge, but today several 100,000 bushels are shipped out. The molasses mixer is capable of handling 4 tons per hour. The mill carries a full line of poultry and cattle remedies which are scientifically formulated. Mr. Burton Peterson, who has made a study of poultry diseases, is employed by the mill to help farmers who may have problems with raising poultry. The feeds that are supplied by the mill have been tested to ensure proper nutritive value. This enables the farmer to fatten his animals at a lower cost. The Cambridge Feed and Mill Company operates 3 large trucks which are used to deliver feeds to the farms and to haul grain from farm to market. The modernization of the mill filled an important need for the farmers of the area. The feed plant includes a large hammer mill, 2 feed mixers, corn cracker, corn sheller, and this molasses mixer. The mill also supplies pure molasses to farmers who prefer to mix their own feeds or are filling their silos. Mr. Rath keeps his finger on the pulse of agricultural progress by maintaining constant contact with farm research at the schools. Started the first commercial turkey raising project in this area, which now boasts an annual production of 200,000 birds. One of the commercial poultry producers comes into the mill twice a day to pick up his daily order of 10 tons of turkey feed. This particular formula is made up especially for the Mold Turkey Ranch. The Mold farm has a special sack color, purple, that is used for his feed formula. The color is immediately recognized by the employees of the mill and enables the order to be quickly filled. John Mold began raising turkeys in 1936 with a flock of 1,000 birds. He has increased his flock each year until he now has the largest in the area, raising well over 30,000 birds annually. The Minneapolis and St. Paul markets are supplied with these excellent birds the year round. It has been found, since Mr. Rath brought in the first turkeys, that Minnesota is particularly suited to the growth of the birds. And since Mr. Rath still maintains a flock of birds himself, he is able to render invaluable service to turkey raisers in the area. His own formula for turkey feed is well liked and used by many of the producers in the area. He usually finds time to chat with producers when they come into the mill and pass on any new information. Turkeys are of a delicate nature and very hard to raise. They are most susceptible to disease and weather from birth to 16 weeks of age. When they've reached the age of 16 weeks, they become more resistant to weather and their strength increases. This house is equipped with violet ray lights to supply sunshine and warmth. Mr. Hance, son-in-law of the moles, is working in the freezer plant. The birds are dry picked, dressed, and then packaged in cellophane. The weight of each bird is marked in the cellophane wrapping. After the birds are dressed, packaged, and frozen, then they are packed into a large crate, ready for their journey to the Twin Cities markets. Several years ago, a bad storm came up unexpectedly. Many of the men in Cambridge, doctors, lawyers, businessmen, and so forth, got out a Caterpillar tractor, piled under it, and went out to the Mold farm. They managed to save about 5,000 birds from sure death. Turkeys are easily panicked on one hand, and on the other hand, they don't have sense enough to come in out of the rain. During the first 16 weeks, they require careful watching and excellent care. At the Mold farm, turkeys are processed the year round, so there is always a flock of young birds to replace the main flock as it's dressed out. And there's a lot of work involved. Turkeys lay eggs when they are about 28 weeks old. They are fertile for about 4 weeks. Mortality rates run high for the turkey raiser. In the United States, the mortality average is about 23%. Proper care and feeding can reduce this rate on individual farms. Mr. Mold has reduced the rate on his farm to 12 to 15%. One way he's done this is to feed Stock Grow. Stock Grow is a greenish-colored milk product made from cheddar cheese. It contains the intestines and builds the turkey's resistance to disease. Stock Grow was developed by H.C. Rath. It's made in a wick form and is available to the birds at all times. Clayton Jackson has been our local Ford dealer for 12 years, handling Ford trucks and tractors as well as cars. The repair department is equipped to handle everything from body repairs to mechanical work, and the wrecker and towing service is a specialty. John Norberg is the shop foreman, and he's assisted by Jim Chalstrom and Alvin Anderson. Bookkeeping for this busy department and for the rest of the company is handled by Vendela Larson. Parts are handled by Bob Nelson, and Mike Dahlgren is in charge of sales. But Mike is out of the office right now, and Clayton Jackson is checking a part when Hilding Erickson, our local real estate dealer, comes in. Mr. Erickson's daughter, Dolores, is all excited because Dad's going to buy her a car. They're on their way to look over the later models when Mr. Erickson's eye lights on this one. It's a 1924 Model T that belongs to Mike Dahlgren. Dad just has to pause to look it over. He remembers when he had one just like it. Of course, Dolores has her eye on something a little more modern. Mike gets the old Model T out about once a year and brings it over to the garage for an oil change and a grease job. He drives it in our annual roundup parade, and then he puts it back in the shed for another year. Dolores has made up her mind, but Dad and Mr. Clayton want her to be sure. The four-door Custom Line is a nice, solid car, but the sporty Victoria is the choice for a test run. The Ford Motor Company is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, and the difference in the Victoria and the old Model T shows a tremendous amount of progress. All the progress does not show, however. The strides that have been made in the mechanical end of the business can only be noticed in the driving and riding. Here's an another example of what ingenuity and initiative can do. The Isanti County Co-op has been growing since it was first organized in 1932. It began with a small cooperative oil station. In a short time, the station grew out of the building, and additions were added to make room for a service shop, meeting hall, kitchen, and offices. The original building is still part of the station. As the petroleum department grew, expansion was needed along other lines. In 1935, a grocery store was started. The store was remodeled into the first self-service store in the town in 1943. Fresh fruits and vegetables are easily available to customers. The meat department sells about $70,000 worth of meat in a year. There are 2 butchers who cut and wrap all that meat. They also cut meat for the frozen food lockers that are a part of the store. Key employees have been with the store for a number of years. The 2 girls who handle the checkout counters have run up about $185,000 worth of sales per year. The organization took the biggest step in its history in 1945 when it acquired a hardware and farm machinery store. The store handles a large volume of sales and did $183,000 worth of business just last year. Members of the cooperative find it wise to make all their purchases in co-op stores. The latest models in farm machinery and appliances are handled by the organization. This is one of the new double oven-type stoves equipped with a timer and easy-to-clean burners. And that's what the little woman wants. It's okay with him. Well, she's really looking it over. Now, isn't that just like a man? Wait, where'd he go? Might have known. Well, if he's going fishing, we might as well have a picnic basket and jug. I'll just pick them out now while he's getting his fishing tackle. My, those boys are real salesmen. Plugs, rod and reel, tackle box. They're really ready for that vacation, aren't they? These stores are in Cambridge. The cooperative also has 2 other grocery stores and several substations in the surrounding area. Total combined sales for a year run about $785,000. The Federal Co-op is a division of the Isanti County Cooperative. The Co-op tank bulk station handles the distribution of tanks and gas. This fuel is used by approximately 6,000 members in Federation territory. Tanks are supplied in 2 sizes, the 500-gallon tank for farm use and the 100-pound cylinder type. The tank is filled by weighing. When there's been 100 pounds of propane run into the tank, the valve automatically shuts off. There are 2 scales so that 2 cylinders can be filled at the same time. All tanks are painted and then stenciled each time they are refilled. From this plant, the cylinders are delivered to local cooperative dealers. Propane gas is called the magic fuel. This plant has room for storage of 104,000 gallons, which makes it the largest single propane storage plant in the state. There are at present 6 trucks in the propane department. These are used for delivery, 1 for service, and 1 for sales. There's also a stake truck, which is used for delivery of cylinders and appliances. The Federated Co-op has been running a test with one of their trucks. At the present time, the truck has run 61,000 miles without the need for an oil change. This proves that the fuel is very clean and has no diluting effect. The bulk truck is filled from the storage tank by means of a rubber hose that is fastened securely before the pump is started. Propane must be kept under pressure at all times to be handled as a liquid. It vaporizes very easily when the pressure is reduced, and its boiling point is 44 degrees below zero. The delivery man wears gloves because it makes it easier to handle the hoses, and also it's safer. If propane comes into contact with the skin, it will freeze it immediately. The gauge at the rear of the truck measures the volume in the tank and also tells the operator when the tank is filled. The gauge is of the rotary type and spews a small amount of liquid when it's rotated. After the truck is filled, the hose is disconnected only after the valves have been securely shut off. The truck is ready to travel out to any of the more than 1,200 bulk systems located in various communities and farm areas. The truck itself is operated on propane fuel, which has many advantages over other more common types of fuel. As the truck pulls up to the domestic tank, the hose is again securely fastened to the filler valve, and a ticket is inserted into the meter, which automatically records and prints the number of gallons delivered in the ticket. In this way, the customer is assured of accurate delivery. When the gauge shows that the tank is full to 85%, the pump is shut off and the valves are closed. The tank is filled to only 85% of its capacity because space must be allowed for expansion of the liquid if the temperature should rise. The Federal Co-ops of East Central Minnesota is a new type of cooperative organization and was formed in 1942. Its aims are to render such service to members that are not feasible for local cooperatives and to carry cooperation one step further by uniting producer services and consumer groups together in one common endeavor. Kruger Brothers handled John Deere farm machinery for Cambridge and the surrounding area. They originally were in business in Weber, but in 1947 they built this modern building in Cambridge. They sell and deliver farm machinery over a 100-mile area, and they are proud of their reputation for prompt delivery. This combine is being made ready for delivery right now. The platform is fastened at a gentle slope to ensure proper handling of grain with a comparatively slow elevating speed. Kruger Brothers have sold and serviced over 2,300 John Deere tractors, and they have modern delivery equipment such as trucks, pickups, and implement trailers. Carl and Reuben Kruger started handling John Deere implements in 1935, and they have increased their line until they now also sell New Holland machinery, Surge milkers, and Oldsmobile cars, and employ 16 people to sell and service their products. Tractors are delivered on flatbed trucks, and this platform sees plenty of service because it facilitates loading operations. Tractors are securely fastened down to prevent accidents on the road. Young Bobby Kruger is Reuben's son. He enjoys the activity that's always present at the store. A modern repair department is located in the rear of the buildings. They have on hand the full line of parts for the repair of John Deere implements. The interior of the showroom is finished in knotty pine paneling and has large picture windows across the front. There's also a 38 by 100-foot warehouse on the property for storage of new implements and parts. It's a handy place to keep the full line of tractors and truck tires that are handled by the brothers. Oh boy, says Bobby when he gets a look at the newest trophy. Carl and Reuben are avid hunters and will spend hours studying and observing the habits of the animals they are hunting. The latest edition is a mountain sheep shot in Alberta, Canada by Carl Kruger. The walls of the office are covered with trophies they have brought back from their hunting expeditions in Canada, Montana, Wyoming, and in northern Minnesota. The trophies include deer, elk, moose, and antelope, and Carl mounts all the heads himself. The elk and antelope are just about extinct here in the United States. All these animals are timid by nature, and their safety is in flight, not in fight. Cambridge churches are an integral part of community life. They sponsor religious education programs and a variety of recreational activities. Many of the churches in Cambridge have completed expansion and modernization programs in order to better serve their parishioners. Religious affiliations don't stand in the way of Christianity in our town. Although Niels Carlson is a member of another church, he painted this mural. The mural depicts the River Jordan. It is painted in beautiful pastel tones and is as Mr. Carlson imagines it to be. Painting is his hobby, and he donated the mural to the church. The painting is 6 by 15 feet and was done in 1933. Mr. Carlson does not sell any of his paintings. All but these three have been given to friends. The Old Man is one of his best, and it's his favorite. It's hung in his studio. Several of his landscapes were done from memory. He hasn't done much painting recently because he has been made manager of the photographic studio where he worked. Since then, he has found little time for painting, but hopes to begin painting again when he retires. We know that his paintings will again be awarded the blue ribbons and special awards that were presented to him when he exhibited his works at the Isanti County Fair. But for the present, we'll have to be content with Niels Carlson's art in the photographic form. Mr. Carlson's hobby is painting, but Mr. H.E. Olson grows tuberous begonias in his spare time. He and his wife became interested in cultivating tuberous begonias about 5 years ago. These flowers were not generally or successfully grown in the Minnesota climate. The Olsons found that through experimenting they could grow them. The blooms now measure 8 inches and the plants are 36 inches tall. About 50 specimens are grown in pots each year, and each one can almost be considered a collector's item. Several other Cambridgeites now seek information from the Olsons on the culture of tuberous begonias. John Lind has a very unusual hobby. He spends his spare time carving violins. John is now retired and finds it easier to put the time in on his hobby. He estimates that it takes 75 to 100 hours to complete an instrument. The tools that he uses are mostly of his own design. His collection at present consists of about 12 instruments, including one of his own design. He hasn't been able to make an accurate comparison of the tone quality of his own design as yet, because it was made during the war years when John found it necessary to use inferior woods. John made his first violin as a gift for a friend when he was 12 years old. He thinks that the most valuable violin in his collection is probably worth about $300 if it were sold from a retail store. His own design seems to have a rich tone and far more volume than a regular violin. You've seen our town. We are rich in industry, initiative, and culture. Our people are largely Swedish-born or of Swedish parentage. They found the wooded hills and the pleasant lakes of Minnesota similar to their homeland, and so they settled here. Their resourcefulness and perseverance have made our town a thriving one, and we're proud of them both. Yes, this is our town, Cambridge, Minnesota, USA.